We have at least two or three, anywhere from 250 to 300,000 ballots were dropped mysteriously into the rolls. Much of that had to do with Fulton County, which hasn't been checked. We think that if you check the signatures, a real check of the signatures going back in Fulton County, you'll find at least a couple of 100,000 of forged signatures.
It's not deja vu. This is something far worse than occurred in Watergate. We have both a criminal president of the United States in Donald Trump and a subversive president of the United States at the same time in this one person, subverting the very basis of our democracy and willing to act criminally in that subversion.
We had, I believe it's about 4,502 voters who voted but who weren't on the voter registration list. So it's 4,502 who voted, but they were not on the voter registration roll, which they had to be.
It's very damning for the president, and it certainly should open the eyes of the American people that the president is trying to, this is a coup. This is a soft coup. This is a 21st century coup.
Smaller number, you had 904 who only voted where they had just a PO, a post office box number. And they had a post office box number, and that's not allowed.
So why is it that 12 Republican senators, and I'm told perhaps as many as 140 House Republicans, will on Wednesday vote to reject President-elect Biden's win, and yet another doomed attempt to stage a bloodless coup and undermine the results of a Democratic election?
You had out-of-state voters. They voted in Georgia, but they were from out of state, of 4,925. You had absentee ballot sent to vacant. They were absentee ballots sent to vacant addresses. They had nothing on them about addresses. That's 2,326.
See, what we have just heard is that in any other conceivable moment in our history, this tape would result in the leadership of both parties calling for the resignation of the President of the United States immediately. There would be a run in the Republican, Democrat, and Democratic parties to call for his resignation. What we're listening to here is the president proposing a conspiracy to steal the election.
We're going to have an accurate number over the next 2 days with certified accountants, but an accurate number will be given, but it's in the 50s of thousands, and that's people that went to vote, and they were told they can't vote because they've already been voted for.
But where is everyone else? Where are these losers? These spineless losers who don't care about this country, who should be stepping up now, who should have stepped up every step of the way.
Well, look, we have every right to take these votes in the way that we believe reflects our constituency and our state. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to speak for the people of Georgia. But the worst thing for our party is if David Perdue and I don't win on Tuesday. We have to win because we have to be able to get to that next step, to be able to vote our conscience and what is right on January 6th. And then we have to be able to pursue holding people accountable for how these elections were handled.
But have you seen evidence, enough evidence of fraud to overturn any state's election as a senator and what you've seen so far?
Well, certainly here in Georgia, we have upwards of 200 open investigations. We're in the courts right now. We have heard and seen too much. We need to get to the bottom of it.
Will you object?
You know, when I first saw the magnitude of the irregularities back in early December, about our November race, I called for the resignation of our Secretary of State. I repeatedly called for a special session of the General Assembly to investigate. None of that happened. And so I started calling out for the only thing left for the president is for us to object. And I agreed that I would do that.
Live from our nation's capital, you're in the field headquarters of one of the small divisions of the bloodless coup. Wow. What a weekend. What days ahead of us. You got to laugh at it, Jack Maxey. You're in the war room. It's Monday, the 4th of January, the year of our Lord, 2021. Now with, 27 million downloads on our podcast. John Fredericks Radio Network. I want to thank the guys at Real America's Voice out in Denver for actually helping put this show together over the holidays. G News, GTV, Mandarin, also Pluto, Roku, Rumble, YouTube. See it everywhere. We're ubiquitous. By the way, we're very proud of being the one of the top podcasts in the world, and I think the top conservative podcast. I think we're number 2 overall in the United States, right in back of Pod Save America, the Obama guys. So I want to thank everybody. Make sure you download the podcast. What a day, and what days ahead of us. One of the most important weeks in American history. Mitch McConnell laid it out last week. He told the senators that this was going to be the most important vote of their careers. And this is to a group of senators who virtually all of them were the jury in only the 3rd impeachment trial in the history of the United States and voted in that. And he said, less than a year later, this is the most important vote you will take. As in any fourth turning, everybody gets exposed, right? Who's on one side and who's on the other. We're seeing that. Our in-studio co-host back from the field out in Nevada and Arizona is Brian Kennedy from American Strategies Groups, also former head of the Claremont Institute and a real warrior. So much going on. What we want to do is start, and I got to show you, and for our podcast audience and radio audience, you can't. I'm holding up the New York Times banner headline. On tape, Trump pushes Georgia to find votes, find in quotes. And then they have a series. The whole front page is essentially this, the tape yesterday. They have a whole series of quotes, right? Not one of those quotes is the ones that we played. And why is that? If you really listen to the tape, and I would recommend, and I really commend Raheem Kassam, my wingman here with Jack Maxey, is National Pulse. Listen to the whole tape, not the cut that the Washington Post did, the slam cut that pulled all the worst stuff out of context, but did it. And go back to the New York Times, the paper of record in our beloved republic. Not one of the this huge. I mean, this is like the Pentagon Papers or something like this, right? They took this tape, illegally recorded by Roethlisberger, and they go, "Oh, well, Georgia's a one-party state." No, he's commander in chief. He's commander in chief of the United States, right? And I know there's an investigation going on right now to check into that. But Raheem, we want to juxtapose President Trump actually not pushing the guy. What he's doing is laying out the facts. And here's the unbelievable thing. Roethlisberger is wrong on all his facts, ladies and gentlemen. He is the Secretary of State for Georgia, and he is wrong on his facts. He specifically tells the President of the United States, you got this guy, Brainard, and he's been doing some stuff, and there's only 2 dead. This is just not correct. They're not using, the campaign is not using, Matt Brainard was our data guy on 16, one of them, and the head guy for a while, fantastic guy. He's done some amazing work, as you know, Raheem, throughout the country, particularly in Wisconsin and other places, in Pennsylvania. The campaign's got a whole different set of data analytics they're using. It's overwhelming evidence. Overwhelming evidence. And here's what the Democrats are in full meltdown. You heard from the pearl clutching of our Mika, all the way to Carl Bernstein jumping in there. This is horrible. It's a coup. It's the worst in the country. Address the facts. And the President of the United States is drilling Roethlisberger with fact after fact after fact after fact. This is what a chairman and a CEO of a company, like in real estate and media and entertainment and other things and branding that he's in, he knows the math. And he's sitting there go, boom, boom, boom. And Roethlisberger's like, it's Roethlisberger's job to know this. This is his only function in life, is to know this. He says there's only 2 dead. Sir, that is a stone cold lie. That's not a miss. That's just not a miss. That's a lie. This is the type of lies that you've been putting out there. The President of the United States exposed you as incompetent at best and a liar at worst. You couldn't answer any of his factual boom, 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 to hit it over and over and over again. No, sir, Right now, the data analytics team and the guys who have gone through it said, hey, we think there's 10,315. However, we'll give you the names, the dates, and the locations of the 800 they can name dead that either mysteriously voted after they died or died before Election Day, which means their votes don't count. 800. And we can give you the receipts, the names and the dates, Roethlisberger, which you should have if you were doing your job. And you probably have done. Great supercut, great cut there, guys. What we try to do is play President Trump's voice in the facts, and then juxtaposed with the meltdown. Here's why they're melting down. It's all coming together. And look, I realize in the hashtag War and Pandemic, in the live stream over at the Breakfast Club at the Bad Hombres at the Donald.win, Nails and Bourbon, right? I understand sometimes. They're failing Arizona. They can't win a court case. The signal, not the noise. Please keep your eye on what is happening here, ladies and gentlemen. We're driving to a point on Wednesday in 12 hours, 6 states, 2 hours apiece. And when you take 2 houses, 24 hours to do what Donald Trump did, to expose their lies. With the overwhelming evidence that Jim Jordan in the House and his team of managers, they assigned by state, and Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz in the Senate. I guess Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, and Tom Cotton. Oops. I guess we had to scratch the third horse. No, the neoliberal neocon. Tom, bad week. Didn't stand up to Walmart, and now you punt it. You punt it on defending the Constitution, sir. Maybe Walmart didn't let you look at the details. But here's the drill. We're driving towards a point here. And everything they mocked. They're doing it in Harlem, Gettysburg. They're doing it at the Hyatt. Brian Kennedy, these guys can't even get into the state capitol. They're in the Hyatt. They're in the Hyatt, right? They're losing 100 court cases. Ladies and gentlemen, layer by layer by layer, these individuals built a case that is overwhelming from a constitutional point of view, from a legal point of view, remember, they were never thrown out on merits. They were always thrown out on either standing or laches. That it was too late. And now, in 48 hours, it's all going to come out. And here's why you're seeing meltdown. Here's why, it's bloodless coup, it's sedition, it's treason, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. They can't handle the truth. And the truth is going to come out. Joe Biden today, over the weekend, they're taking down the stands. He's canceled the inauguration parade. It's not about COVID. Give me a break. It's about he can't. Everybody understands there's no heat. They're trying to do a night. They're ashamed of what went on because, like a thief in the night, they tried to steal this. And because of guys like Brian Kennedy and Rudy Giuliani, right, and Catherine Freeze. And others throughout this country, hundreds and thousands and crowdsourcing stuff, information, bit by bit, right? And we haven't even gotten to the good stuff. All the Dominion stuff, I said, that's all going to take time. That's going to take time. But here's what you have to know. In the fullness of time, it's all coming out. It's all coming out. It's all going to come out. Every detail, every fact, every email, every phone call, everything, every point of coordination, all the Zuckerberg stuff with Phil Klein and the Amistad Project and Thomas More, it's all coming out. And it's going to start on Wednesday. And Nancy Pelosi, they're all going to, remember, everything they're doing up there to chop up the rules and everything, they don't want you to see the evidence. We're going to be back in a moment. War and Pandemic. This is game day on Wednesday, and it's game week today.
We're taking down the CCP. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Come for the rant, stay for the reason. Now let's go to, we got the voice of reason, Brian Kennedy here, and of course, Raheem Kassam. Listen, I want to tell you, I'm really proud of what National Pulse did yesterday. The Washington Post comes out, and they got this tape. Think about what Roethlisberger is. Think about what a scumbag this guy is. And if he's not impeached immediately or recalled immediately, hey, folks down in Georgia, just saying. He records the president of the United States and immediately leaks it to the Washington Post. Forget your political affiliation. If somebody had done that on Obama, that is just outrageous. To secretly record a president of the United States when you're a government official of one of these states in what is obviously the country's hurtling towards a constitutional crisis. You secretly record him and then send it almost immediately to the Washington Post so they can get it, right? Mr. Raheem Kassam.
I do worry about the legality of that, but it does show you what an absolute bad faith actor and actors these people on the call were. Now, look, you mentioned in the last segment, hey, he's not doing his job. Actually, that's the problem. He's absolutely doing his job as far as he sees it, right? He sees his job as being the impediment to this president. He sees his job as returning the party control to the establishment Republicans. And that's how we refer to them throughout this analysis. It's the establishment wing of the Republican Party who smell blood in the water for the America First base. What they don't understand, and they have failed to understand from day one, is that President Trump is just the representative of the America First movement. They think if they shiv him, they kill off the entire movement, and it's just not true. So we start our analysis with the following words. I don't know about that. I don't have it in front of me. We're looking into that. Whose words were they throughout this call? And by the way, I'd have got the analysis up sooner had I not been messing around my headphones for 3 hours yesterday trying to get them fixed and readied up. But we got it up in good time last night, and I implore everybody. There's an analysis, there's the full audio, and there's the full transcript. So get your T-shirts out that you bought last year during the impeachment that say, read the transcript, and put those T-shirts on today and wear them everywhere again. Because if that was a perfect call, this was a pitch perfect call.
Yeah.
And like you said, it goes to the CEO-style nature that he is dealing with this with. So let's take it from the top right here.
I couldn't be prouder of him.
And the top is the detail. This is the last part that the Washington Post released. Remember, they first released the 4 minutes. Actually, they first released the article. Then they released the 4 minutes when people are like, hey, where's the audio? And then they released the full audio. Oh, wait, and then they released redacted full audio. And we'll get to that in a second, too. So there was a 4-step process for the Washington Post, Democracy Dies in Darkness, to actually get the full story out yesterday. Over the course of hours, it was a completely botched release of this thing. And everything you're seeing, whether it's CNN, whether it's MSNBC, all these crazies on the screen, is actually kind of a CYA for the botched report from the Washington Post. Now, the public, have to go into the detail yourself to get around and to disintermediate all the nonsense. So let's start at the top. 3 points right off the bat, right out of the gate, President Trump hits them with. 250 or 300,000 ballots mysteriously dropped into the rolls. Detail. 4,502 voters who voted but weren't on the registration list. Detail. Addresses vacant, not allowed to be counted. 18,325. Detail. Out-of-state voters, 4,925. Detail. He talks about another 2,326, another 900. It goes on and on and on. And that's just the first 5 minutes. That's his opening bid of the call. Hey, we have the receipts, we have the numbers, and it's not Mark Meadows, it's not any of the lawyers on the call, it's the big man himself,
right,
walking through the detail. Firstly, that's incredibly impressive. Secondly, if you listen to it, he's not reading off a piece of paper.
No.
He has internalized this detail.
This is the CEO part of it.
And he knows exactly what's going on.
You brought up a good point. On Saturday, he talked to, I think, about 350 legislators in these states, in leadership, and it was 2 hours of a detailed, into the weeds presentation. Peter Navarro, John Lott, people you may have heard in War Room before. Okay, Navarro about the math from Harvard and an analytical guy. Lott, from Yale and Stanford about the details. Chicago. You had Eastman come in and walk through the constitutionality and the legal and the responsibility of the state legislatures. Then you had Rudy Kraft it. You had Phil Klein come in and talk about the Zuckerberg thing, which we've had on, but it has not been drilled down on enough. Detail after detail after detail. Remember, yesterday afternoon, when this thing first broke, what did they put up on the screen? Rathensberg to the President of the United States. Your data is wrong. Your data is wrong. If that's what it's got to come down to, folks, hey, let's have at it. Let's throw down on Wednesday. Your numbers versus our numbers. What do you got to back up? I don't want to hear any more soft coup, any more treason, sedition. Hey, that's fine. That's an opinion. We're coming with facts, okay? We've got the facts, right? You've got opinions. You've got spin. You've got the oligarchs. And here's the beauty of it, folks. Every day, you can see it in the Gallup poll when the guy's at 6%. You can see it here in the city where they're taking down the inaugural parade. What they're humiliated about now, and they've been outed, or as West Point they say, you've been found, right? You've been found, and that's about character, right? You've been found. The Democratic Party, this entire apparatus, you've been found. You have a guy that can't draw any crowds, right? He can't draw any crowds. He didn't draw 84 million votes. Everybody knows it. Every hedge fund guy in the world knows it. Every Democratic operative knows it. The people in the states know it. They know it. And here's what it is. Every day we're going to find it more facts, more facts, more facts, more facts, more facts, okay? This is one of the greatest crises in the history of the nation, right? A constitutional crisis on top of a national security crisis. Because as Jack Maxey shows you, with the facts from the hard drive from hell, he's owned by the Chinese Communist Party. We come at you with facts. They come at you with spin. It's a Russian disinformation campaign. No, it's not. No, it's not. Oh, he's the smartest guy I ever met, Joe Biden says. No, he's not. Okay? We just come with facts, and they can't take it. They're so used, and they're so lazy, and they're so stupid, right? They're so lazy. And Jake Tapper up there, and they get so desperate. He takes personal shots at Jason Miller. They're all taking personal shots at me now. Hey, bro, dude, honey badgers do not care. I could care less what you say because we're not going to stop, okay? Wednesday's just the open. Wednesday's just the open. You think this is going away on Wednesday? It's not going away on Wednesday. Joe Biden is illegal and illegitimate. If you want to know that, where's your parade? Donald Trump ought to call the National Park Service right now and say, stop, freeze in place. Because you know what? We're going to have a big parade on the afternoon of the 20th. And about 5 million deplorables are going to show up, ready to when after he has his second inaugural address.
Just so the people that don't know, because this actually hasn't been a widely reported story, is that the Biden inauguration is actually dismantling.
They're dismantling. By the way, you understand,
the inauguration.
There's not going to be really an inauguration. He may tell you on the platform, but they're saying, oh, because of COVID, we really don't want. No. Because a guy got 84 million votes in Washington, D.C., in the urban areas would. There would be bigger. It would be the size of Obama's, right? And I don't want to get into the President Obama challenge each other about the size of the crowds. Let Sean Spicer do that, okay? Obama's was pretty big. Yeah. President Trump's was pretty big. Yeah. Those are guys who could draw a crowd. Biden's, they're taking down the parade route. We're not going to have a parade. Oh, it's because of COVID. No, it's not. No, it's not.
They don't want to have the circles on the on the mall.
They're being found. They're being exposed every day. This guy can't draw any crowd. That's why he's doing his talks now at 3:45.
He's also not going to get inaugurated either. He is not going to win.
Amen.
Look, they're going to show on Wednesday all the evidence. It's been a media blackout all over the country. And so people have not heard these facts. They will hear them on Wednesday. And if the Congress does not want to engage the way Senator Cotton said he didn't want, Congress shouldn't decide all these things, then Mike Pence can decide. And Mike Pence can decide which slate of electors he ought to accept.
I think Cotton misses the point. It's that if you don't, it's the state legislature's responsibility. Nobody argues that. That's what this whole thing's about. If Pence decides that it can't be certified, kicks it back to the state legislatures, then that election's over. The November 3rd election is over because it can't be figured out and you're under 270. It goes to a contingent election, back to the House. That's what was set up, right, to do this. And Mike Pence clearly has the authority and the responsibility to do that. Yes, sir.
Just very quickly, I mean, Tom Cotton misses it on two levels. Number one is he operates by this old establishment mindset on this issue. By saying, if we do it to them, they're going to do it to us. They're already doing it to you.
What are you missing?
They are stealing it from you. They are in your face, and you won't do anything about it. Oh, but we don't want to give them an opportunity to do it again in the future. Nonsense. Total nonsense.
By the way, if we tried to steal it like this, I would hope they would stop us.
Right.
If we did this, what happened here, I would hope that they would come in and defend the Constitution, defend the Republic. Remember, this is bigger than Trump. This is bigger than Trump. It's bigger than the Trump movement. It's bigger than the Republican Party. This is about, are we a constitutional republic? This is why I keep saying, if you want to look at where we are, look at the end of the Roman Republic, because that's where we are right now. We're either going to have a fight for it and have a republic, or we're going to go to an authoritarian model like the CCP. You can see it coming. You can see it as clear as day.
And what was the main reason for the collapse of the later republic? Loss of civic virtue, people.
Yes.
Loss of civic virtue. This is what we need today. And Brian Kennedy, I want you to be able to say it. You made a very good point earlier. Vice President Pence has the opportunity to be one of two people historically.
Thomas Jefferson, you saying being the other?
No, I think you said it well. Pontius Pilate, or Solomon.
We're going to get into that in the next segment. Okay, we got Brian Kennedy. He said we got Roger Kimball. We're getting some of the biggest brains in here. It's fight week in the War Room. And remember, here we only focus on fights that matter. So we're going to return in a moment. Brian Kennedy from Claremont in the American Strategy Group. Roger Kimball's going to be joining us from the New Criterion. Raheem Kassam, Jack Maxey, Stephen K. Bannon with the receipts. We brought the receipts. Okay, see you in a minute.
Spread the word all through Hong Kong. We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the sea.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Come for the rant, stay for the reason. Okay, we got a lot of that coming up. We've got Roger Kimball from New Criterion. We've got another one of the smartest guys in our movement, Brian Kennedy. What I love about our movement, everybody says it's got heavyweight intellectuals, right, that drive it with ideas. Jack Maxey, you said beforehand, give the biblical reference. Pence could be one or the other. What are they?
Well, he could be Pontius Pilate, and he could betray the people. Or he could be Solomon, and he could be the good broker of justice. This is basically what it is. And history will remember what Pence does. And you know, I look at
for
Pence...
For 1,000 years.
And I look at Pence, and he seems to be such a man of faith. He always is talking about his Christian faith. So I have to imagine that a man who expresses so much faith takes his oath to God and the Constitution very seriously, and I would like to see all of the people that he represents hold him to that.
Pence is perfect because it's about what we talk about, human agency, right? The Holy Spirit and divine providence work through human agency, and that's where you're seeing Mike Pence. Like I said, Trump's victory, you were there in 2016. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, it was providential. If you saw the ragtag group we had, it was providential, right? And Trump doesn't hold himself out as a churchy guy. I mean, that's obvious. He's upfront about that. He loves. I think it was Norman Vincent Peale was the Protestant preacher and thing of optimism that Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump were drawn to. So he's very serious about that. But he wasn't like an evangelical, fire-breathing evangelical Christian like some of our presidents have been. But it's human agency, right? It's being an instrument. That's what Mike Pence is right now. And Brian Kennedy, you've got very well thought through ideas about this.
Well, look, I want Mike Pence to do the right thing, and I think he is going to do the right thing. I think he's going to be a defender of the republic. He sees, like everyone else does, all these elections. They're not just election irregularities. This is the premise for a massive election fraud. Everyone sees that. You cannot explain stopping the vote in the middle of the night. You cannot explain these charts where you have hundreds of thousands of votes moved from one column to another. You can't explain just the lack of integrity of our system. Mike Pence is going to see that. He's going to do the right thing. He's already demonstrated he's not an establishment Republican when he became the vice president of Donald Trump. He was willing to stand with Donald Trump and the America First agenda.
Yep.
He was willing to fight for the country. Now, this is his job. This will be the most important thing Mike Pence has done in 4 years. Second 4 years, I expect he'll do many other important things.
Yes.
This will be the first thing in this 4 years.
This is one of the most important moments in American history when you go through after they go through the 24 hours, because remember, both houses argue. This is one of the things. They're not sitting in the lobby. They're not going to be giving interviews. This is going to be a full prosecution. Now, Pelosi and them are going to try to make it into debates with 5 minutes, but they're coming in with rules of saying, hey, Jordan, these guys will take all the time, and they're going to bring the receipts. Watch how the media and watch how Watch how the oligarchs and social media, and watch how the Democrats, they don't want to show you any evidence. Hey, if we're so baseless and it's so made up and we're a bunch of cranks, then show it and mock us. Let it all come out and then laugh at it and say, no, this is wrong. Your numbers are wrong here. Here's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's Roethlisberger. Here's the other thing. They're so lazy. They've gotten so lazy because they're protected all the time with this air cover of social media and the media. They're not combat ready to argue, right? They're not combat ready to go in there. Rudy Giuliani and Brian Kennedy have had to grind it through, right? This crucible for 8 or 10 weeks. And I understand out there in the, hey, why are they in Phoenix? They're only in the ballroom. Why are they losing in court? Every element built up another element of it, got the argument ready, found more receipts, understood what was strong, understood what was weak, step by step by step, day by day, understanding we're all going to converge on that point on the 6th. We're all going to converge there, right? Hey, maybe the Supreme Court steps in, maybe don't, but you're all going to converge there. You're going to converge there. Momentum's on our side. Last Monday, we had Mo Brooks. Today, we got 160. And by the way, I think McCarthy, after the rules fight today, is going to stand up and say, I'm Spartacus, right? If he wants to be a leader in this thing, he's going to have to, because he's going to kill as being a minority leader. Nobody's going to listen to him. He's got to stand up. In the House, you're going to see, in the Senate, you're going to see more guys. We had nobody. Josh Hawley stood up. We had one guy on Monday in the House, one guy on Tuesday in the Senate. Now we have 160 to 180, and we've got 12 and more coming in. State legislatures, we had 350 on the phone call the other day, many more joining. Okay? Just like Ken Blackwell say, we actually own this. That's what I'm saying. No. We don't need to call the Insurrection Act in Georgia. We don't. We control it. We just got to impose our will. It's like in football. You have to impose your will on the opposition, and you're seeing it come now. And Trump, that magnificent call, the Ukraine call was perfect. We know the Ukraine's perfect because of the hard drive from hell. It was a perfect call. As much as people mocked and ridiculed, it was a perfect call.
And we know it because of Fareed Zakaria admitting it, basically.
Fareed Zakaria, we'll get to that when we get some time. So hold on. I've got to bring in real quickly. We're jammed for time to get off my soapbox.
Just one
thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Just
Jump in.
30 seconds.
Yes.
The reason, when we say we mean you. Right? The reason we got from 1 to 160, and I didn't think we'd get to 160, is because you guys burned the phone lines down.
Yes.
You guys sent the emails. So it's Monday, start again, right? And that starts with Mike Pence, it's all of them. Call them.
The second hour, we're going to have actually the footage from Pennsylvania exploded yesterday. There were 1,000 people outside the Speaker of the House's home. Not his office. They went for a Sunday visit, okay? And I think up at Corman's too. And more's coming. It's not going to back off. This is a wound that will not heal. Let's bring it. Okay, we got a lot to jam in here, and I'm going to get off my soapbox here. Okay, let's go to Georgia and John Fredericks. The massive rally tonight. President Trump just tweeted out. What did the tweet say? Here's what he's doing tonight. It's not a rally speech. Tonight, he's going to address the nation on the facts. He says, hey, you think you heard it in the thing yesterday? If you listen to the whole tape, or we're in pandemic, supercut, you're going to hear it tonight because that's what he's going to do. It's a late one. It's at 9 o'clock. I know Real America's Voice. We got John Fredericks. Let's go to Georgia and John Fredericks. John, Kelly Loeffler and Purdue, who we would love to have as senators on Wednesday, weren't exactly breathing fire yesterday. Now, I'm told that the 3 million votes in Georgia already, we're going to need a game day turnout tomorrow of over 1 million votes, and it's going to have to be 60-40 Trump versus the Democrats for Trump voters versus Democrats for the 2 Republicans to win. Where do we stand right now as far as intensity down there in a possible win?
Number one, never get off your soapbox. Your soapbox is what is driving this whole thing, so I want you to continue that, Steve. But look, Kelly Loeffler's performance on Bret Baier yesterday was nothing short of pathetic. She basically, when asked about January 6th, she said she's looking into it and evaluating it. Look, the facts here are so obvious. You know, it's just double talk. It's mealy-mouthed speak. It's Karl Rove. It's consultants. It's Mitch McConnell. And it's hurting her. I mean, she needs to come out. She should have come out yesterday and said, absolutely, I will vote with President Trump on January 6th to overturn these states because the fraud is more than I can bear. She says that, she wins. She refuses to do it, it puts her at risk. They're going to need about 1 million to 1.1 million turnout tomorrow on game day in order to win. Purdue, on the other hand, Senator Purdue, well, he goes on Maria Bartiromo, and she presses him And he says, well, it doesn't really matter because I'm not going to be there on the 6th. If I was, yeah, I'd probably vote. Not a ringing endorsement of it, and he's in hiding, quarantining himself. The reason he went in quarantine, although he tested negative for COVID, is so he didn't have to go to the rally tonight, get introduced, and get heckled and booed off the stage. That's why he took the quarantine. Now, as bad as these candidates are, they do have a chance tomorrow to win if we can get a massive game day turnout. But another turn of events today in Georgia, which, Steve, is unbelievable. There was a hearing scheduled at 11 a.m. in Fulton County with a judge that was going to grant Garland Favorito and his group of voter Georgia GA the opportunity to scan all of the ballots and do a hand inspection, because what is at stake here in Fulton County is there's up to 20,000 ballots that they believe are not real. They have affidavits saying these ballots were manufactured, they're not real ballots. They were going to have the opportunity to go in today, starting at noon if they got a favorable ruling from the judge, and get those scanned and prove once and for all whether or not this allegation is true. At 10 o'clock, it got transferred to an administrative judge by Fulton County for another delay. Now they're trying to run the clock out, and they got it transferred to an election judge. This has nothing to do with the election. All Brad Raffensperger has to do, the Secretary of State today, right now, is say, I want a full audit, I want a full scanning of every single mail-in ballot in Fulton County. I want it inspected by hand. I want a forensic investigation. That's all he has to do. It can get done in 12 hours in time for in time for January 6th, part of the evidence that the congressman would bring up. But he doesn't do it. And now we've got the judges delaying it. You got to ask yourself, what the hell do they have to hide here? Why don't they want a full accounting, a full hand inspection of these ballots? And if the ballots are legit, everybody's fine. If they're not, this is the problem. If they find 20, 25,000 mail-in ballots that were manufactured and printed, that were made up, Trump gets inaugurated on January 20th. It's over.
If
that happens.
We got about.
That's why
did Kelly Loeffler and Perdue come out and condemn the Secretary of State Roethlisberger? Did they tweet out anything or put out a statement? Is that crickets?
Yeah, they asked for him to resign at the beginning, but they put no heat on him, and they're trying to thread the needle and hope that they get some soccer mom in an SUV from Cobb County that voted for Biden to vote for them. That's the strategy. It's a failing, stupid strategy. You got to motivate the base, but look, they don't get it.
John Fredericks, talk about, you're going to cover you're covering Atlanta tomorrow. Give us about the coverage. Real America's Voice is going to come on at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, I think, with your live coverage from Georgia.
We're going to be live. We have a panel starting at 6 p.m. We'll be at the Grand Hyatt, which is the victory headquarters of the Republican Party of Georgia. All of our platforms will be live: Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, Real America's Voice Live will all be on our panel, giving you up-to-date results and the best analysis in America, including Stephen K. Bannon.
Thank you, John. You're doing a fantastic job. We're going to get to Roger Kimball. I'll tell you, short commercial break and get to Kimball. Here's what I want to say. It is this audience that has put insane heat on people. And when I say insane heat, all been coloring always inside the lines, but coloring in bold colors. Trust me. Your emails, your phone calls, your text messages, you're getting in people's faces, you're sharing social media in Georgia, in Pennsylvania. The reason the 350 legislators were on the call the other day is because they're feeling the heat. From Arizona, they're feeling the heat of the righteous indignation, right, of an electorate that understands that the consent of the governed will be taken if you allow this thing to be stolen, right? It's no doubt about it. Okay, we're going to come back. We got Brian Kennedy from formerly at Claremont American Strategies Group. We've got the esteemed Roger Kimball from New Criterion, and they're going to talk to us about, and also Endeavor Books, right, the major publishing arm.
And Counterbooks.
And Counterbooks of the Trump Revolution. And we're going to come back and we're going to put this in perspective, put the week in perspective as the fight starts. Remember, rally tonight at 9 o'clock. Real America's Voice will cover that live. 9 o'clock rally. And President Trump's not going to give a rally speech. He's going to make an address to the nation, and he's going to present the receipts, right? The ones that Brad Roethlisberger, the Secretary of State of Georgia, cannot answer. And that you do not see on the front page of the paper of record of our beloved republic. New York Times, got to take a lesson from the war room, right? Don't bury the lead. The lead is Trump knows the details. He knows the overwhelming evidence of this steal. Back in a moment.
We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back. You're in the War Room, Mr. Raheem Kassam.
The Surrender Caucus, tweets President Trump, within the Republican Party will go down in infamy as weak and ineffective guardians of our nation who were willing to accept the certification of fraudulent presidential numbers. That's hot off the president's Twitter account.
That is hot. That's what this fight's about. Let's bring in Roger Kimball. So, Roger, you're seeing the president start to light people up. I want you to put it in perspective. Where do you think we are now, and how important is this week?
Well, I think where we are now is at the Battle of Waterloo. This week is the decisive week. If we prevail now, I believe the president has a chance of being inaugurated on January 20th. If we don't, then we don't. So I think it's this is the critical week.
What would you anticipate?
It should have been November 3rd, of course. But that was not the election. That was merely a kind of
in order to win,
surrealistic exercise.
In order to win, what do you say to the people like Tom Cotton and others that are stepping back from this? In order to win, what would you recommend if you were in the room with the Senate right now? You know what, all 152 of them. What would you tell those guys?
Well, I do think that people honest people can disagree about the right strategy, and honest people can disagree about the level of fraud that was involved in this election. My belief is that this was a deeply fraudulent election, that it was sufficient to change the outcome of it, and that if we do not stop it now, it will just continue. There will be more and more of it. This will turn out that 2016 will have been the last free and open election in this country for, never is a long time, but for a very long time in the future, because they know how to do it now, and they'll continue to do it. So I think that to Tom Cotton, I would say, listen to your colleagues, Senator Cruz and Senator Hawley and the rest, who have pointed that the allegations of voter fraud that they have been presented with are the greatest in their lifetimes. That being the case, and since the courts so far have been reluctant to step in and do their job, I think that the Congress has to do its job. This is it. This is the battle right now. This is decisive.
When you say this is a decisive battle, this is Waterloo. Put Mike Pence in historical perspective in this battle.
Well, it's he has the opportunity now, since he is going to be presiding over this joint session, to be sure that we get now what we did not.
Did we just lose Roger? Let's try to reboot that if we got time. Brian Kennedy, if this is Waterloo, what is the historical position of Mike Pence?
Look, he is the man who can decide whether this is going to be victory or defeat.
Is that just because they're saying this is the last desperate gasp of the Trump movement? The last desperate gasp is to reach out and to grab onto the last thing, which is Pence doing some miracle. It's a Hail Mary pass.
No, it's not a miracle at all. I think the founders, when they were conceiving of all this, thought that the vice president, this doesn't have to be this happens to be Mike Pence deciding him and Donald Trump whether they won this election. Imagine this would happen 4 years from now, and it were Mike Pence deciding some other person in the veracity of an election. Here you've seen massive amounts of voter fraud that have not been investigated. In that transcript with Raffensperger, he talks about, they ask him, can we see the data? He says, no, it's the law. You can't see the data. And so the system is totally a black box. And because of that, we don't know what really happened.
Let's assume for purposes of discussion that we have prevailed and we show overwhelming evidence, as this audience will know, over weeks and weeks. We'll show every different vertical, even Dominion. Let's throw that in there. Overwhelming evidence. Do you believe with Eastman's theory, when it comes down to it, that if you hardwire back to the Constitution, you just take the Act of 1887, the Electoral Count Act, you set it off to the side, and you believe that Mike Pence makes the decisions?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's in the Constitution that it's for him to decide to count, to accept the
If this was Biden, Kamala Harris, and we were fighting, if this was 16, would you at that time, would it be Obama, Biden to decide? Would you have agreed then? That it had been Joe Biden?
Elections matter, don't they? And so who we elect as president will matter. And so,
but it would not matter to you if Democrats were in these positions today. You would argue that the vice president gets the shot.
Yes, it'll create a constitutional crisis. But we're in a constitutional crisis.
This is the one, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you the two things the Supreme Court are going to take up. They will take up, if it comes down to this, they'll take this issue up about the constitutionality, as we've said, on the Electoral Count Act of 1887 or 1888. They also, I think, will also talk about if it's 269, if elector slates start getting rejected, decertified, is that number 270 or is that number the majority of what's left over? Those two issues will be decided, if it comes to that, will be decided by the Supreme Court.
This is an experiment in free government. We, the United States, this is an experiment. And we're going to see whether we can vindicate that experiment here. And so you'll have all these hours of debate. People will hear the evidence, and then people will decide.
Raheem and Jack, real quickly. Jack, where you stand? Is the electoral? What is the operative law that we're working on? The Constitution, as so interpreted, or the federal statutes of the Electoral Count Act?
I think the statutes of the Count Act have never been argued before the Supreme Court. So, as far as I'm concerned, they haven't been proven to even be constitutionally valid. But we do know that the Constitution is valid, and we do know that it is worth fighting for. And, you could take a trip down to Arlington Cemetery if you want proof of that. And everybody should remember those men and women when they come to the floor on Wednesday.
Raheem?
Way too much that I could fit in this side.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. We've got a world exclusive when we come back about why we're fighting. We're going to pull the camera back for a segment. Let's see if we can't reboot Roger Kimball because I want his thoughts on this. Also, Liz Ure is going to join us. Archbishop Vigano has done an exclusive interview with the War Room.